Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out here. This is a pretty exciting alliance that's happening here, where we have Fletcher Higgins, a great New Zealand construction company with almost 900 workers here in Fiji, having built some of the most iconic buildings, partnering now with the Fijian National Provident Fund and also Fijian Holdings, so they can actually continue to accelerate more infrastructure development, more hotel development here in Denarau, but also across Fiji. So pretty exciting news, and again, part of our ambition to actually lift two-way trade between our great countries from 1.4 billion I talked about this morning up to 2 billion by 2030. With that, happy to take your questions.
Prime Minister, the UNRWA funding, what sort of processes did New Zealand go through in order to continue with that funding?
Yeah, look, the first thing I'd say is New Zealand never suspended its funding like other countries did. Our funding is made once a year. It's due by the end of June. As I said at the time, there were serious allegations. The UN investigated them. The Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Minister Winston Peters, also got assurances from the UN Secretary General, also went through the details of the review that was undertaken around the UNRWA allegations, and we're reassured that it's a good investment and it's entirely appropriate that we now make that payment.
So you're satisfied that due diligence has been done?
Absolutely.
Connect people are calling for New Zealand's support in their calls at the UN level for decolonisation. Will we give it?
Well, again, I think it's an issue that I want to see PIF involvement in as well. As we've said before, ultimately those are issues for the people of New Caledonia to make their own decisions about their future arrangements. What we need to see is calm, first and foremost. What we need to see is dialogue between France and New Caledonia, and that's what we want to be encouraging.
So we won't give it, we'll give it, or jury's out?
Again, we'll consider everything in due course, but for today, what we're calling for is calm. What we want to see is more dialogue between France and also New Caledonia. And I think, given, as I've been talking about, the centrality of PIF, for example, that actually that's what we want to see. When there are Pacific challenges, there need to be Pacific resolutions, and I think there is a role for PIF to play, and ultimately that'll be picked up more, I suspect, in our PIF meeting in Tonga.
They're also calling for humanitarian assistance from New Zealand, like petrol and food. Could we respond to that? Well,
look, again, those are all things that we'll consider in due course, but as I say, right now what we're asking for is calm and dialogue.
Can I just clarify on the UNRWA funding stuff? Is it New Zealand's position that we don't believe that what was alleged happened, or do we just have these reassurances that it won't happen?
Well, there was a review undertaken by the UN because they were serious allegations. That was released, I think, 4 or 5 weeks ago. As I said at the time, we haven't suspended our payment. It was important for us to be reassured through that investigation. I know Deputy Prime Minister has also taken reassurances, as I said, from the Secretary General of the UN himself, and we're very comfortable making those payments to UNRWA. Just remember also that we've made $17 million worth of additional investments in aid to organisations like the World Food Programme, the International Red Cross and others. So, I think this is just part of our humanitarian assistance package. The bigger issue remains. We've seen all woken up this morning with more images of civilians being, catastrophic impact on civilians in Gaza, and it just is, why we've been calling consistently for some time a cessation of hostilities there, and why we need both parties to get around the table and actually make sure that the hostilities do cease, and make sure that there's ultimately a pathway through to a negotiated settlement where a two-state solution emerges, and that's what we're very supportive of. It's our long-standing position, and we'll continue to advocate and push hard for that.
This weekend there's quite a major protest planned around the fast-track bill. Has the government failed to get public support for this pretty major proposal?
I disagree. I think, talk up and down this country to people up and down who are trying to get things done and built in this country, and New Zealand has become an obstruction economy. It's one of the reasons why we haven't received our fair share of foreign direct investment. It's just too hard to get things done in this country. And so we are a government that is determined to make sure that we lift living standards across New Zealand. One of the 5 things we need to do is make sure we have modern, reliable infrastructure. When we put that in place, as we've seen, when we have made those investments in New Zealand over the last decade, we get economic, social and environmental benefits. So, sorry, I'm not making any apologies. We are going to get things built in this country because it's taking way too long. When our consenting has doubled, when the cost of our consenting has doubled, when our building costs are up 41% and are 50% more than Australia, the time has come where we now need to get moving. And so the fast-track provisions and that legislation is very important to doing that. As the Infrastructure Minister has said time and time again, we're going through a select committee process, which is the opportunity for us to strengthen and improve that bill, and to make sure if there's any feedback that we get from stakeholders, we take that on board and we improve the legislation further.
Your last stay in the Pacific, main takeaway, what have you learnt from this trip?
Yeah, just I actually leave incredibly inspired and excited about the potential of Fiji, the potential of New Zealand. And I think sometimes, getting outside of New Zealand, you actually realise it's a big world out there. There's 195 countries, there's 8 billion people. We live in the most exciting, dynamic part of the world, of the Indo-Pacific region. We have incredible talent and most talented people at home. We have great institutions. We have fantastic, abundant natural resources. And it's just, you're filled up with a lot of positivity, a lot of hope and a lot of determination to come back home and to keep charging forward to actually make sure we realise all of that potential that exists in our great country, and in a country like this too, in Fiji as well. And so when you see the agreements that we've signed this morning, that is really encouraging and when you meet with those business people that I met with this morning, I met with the tourism sector last night over dinner here in Fiji, you see incredible entrepreneurs, innovators, people wanting to get things done, wanting to grow the economy, and that creates higher paying jobs and that lifts the living standards of everybody.
So you'd rate this as a success then?
Yeah, it's been a great success, and certainly it's been a great opportunity to build relationship and rapport with Prime Minister Rambuka, who I've really enjoyed getting to know, and likewise in Niue as well. With Premier Tangalangi, it was a really good visit as well. So, really excited about the Pacific region and the potential of it. Now we've got to all work together to go make that happen.
You said an emphasis on trade, particularly with the Fiji leg of this trip. Is there anything that you would have liked to have achieved on that front that you didn't quite get across the line?
No. I think we had a very good discussion about Fiji is without doubt the dominant economy. It's got a big population, as you're well aware of, and actually its future really relies on economic development. That is really what will lift prosperity and living standards for people here in Fiji. And so I think with the change of government, where you've seen a sort of a restoration of democratic principles and real determination to make sure that there is really good professional standards and adherence to democracy. In my conversations with the President, who I admired greatly through the last election process, and what I've sensed from this government is that's been fantastic. And on the other hand, in my conversations for lunch yesterday with the Deputy Prime Minister, Finance Minister, massive focus on financial discipline, good professional standards, due diligence, good financial controls, and all of those things, as you can see, with the 300 people that were there for breakfast this morning, has actually buoyed the business community to say, righto, this is a place now with those political and economic guardrails in place, is actually really determined, has got a good platform for further growth. And it gives the business community fantastic certainty, which is ultimately what they need to do in order to make investments like this one.
Given it's your first trip to the Pacific as PM, how do you think you fared navigating Pacific politics, and what do you think you've learned, or what have you taken on board looking at PIF, which will be a step up from... Yeah, look,
I've actually met with most of the Pacific leaders either in Auckland, one-on-one, when they've been passing through. I've made a big effort to make sure that I can meet as many as possible. I've spoken, for those I haven't met, I've either done Zooms or phone calls and had good discussions. So look, I think, for us, the realisation is, again, as I keep saying, the centrality of the Pacific Island Forum is really important politically in this region. Building capability in the region is really important. But there is immense talent in the region, and that gives me great confidence that there's no reason why the region can't do well. Yes, we have challenges, but yes, we can work, as I say, Pacific solutions for Pacific challenges through the centrality of PIF.
Are there lessons that you've taken from this trip in particular that will inform your approach going into PIF?
Look, I don't think so. It's pretty much as I'd expected it to be, and just genuinely, very excited about the potential of the region, and just sitting down with different leaders and different layers of government, and not just the Prime Minister, but other ministers as well. We had a very constructive conversation yesterday around the challenge around narcotics. With the Minister of Home Affairs for lunch again yesterday, and it was a really, very well thought through conversation about what steps and what actions are needed next. And so it gives me great confidence. We've got great friends and great partners here, and we're part of the Pacific family, and we've all got to step up and play our part and work together.
There are a lot of similarities.
Sorry, Bob. We've got to go.
We're going to be taking part in the rugby this afternoon because when I was with Murray Vitale, he actually got on the field.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder if there's...
I did offer my services, but they were very politely denied. And I'm disappointed about that, Bob. I really am. Yeah, no, well, I think
do that?
I think actually what would have happened is I thought I'd be a good halfback for a while. If someone had an injury, I could come on. And then my wife very kindly suggested, given your summer habit, you tend to pull a hamstring most summers getting a bit active. So I don't think that's a good idea, Sunshine. So that was the end of that conversation.
The Defence Force overruled you or something? Is this?
No. I just very kindly offered it if the third order halfback falls over after the second one, after the main starting one, I'm happy to do a run on. I suggested a few of you might be likely as well.
Will you wear the Drua shirt, seeing as you probably didn't pack a rugby shirt?
I'll take the Drua shirt home and I'll try and find a nice place for it. Yeah.
There are a lot of similarities in the language used between you and Prime Minister Rambuka, similarities on law and order, similarities on cutting red tape and bureaucracy. Have you found a kindred spirit as you sort of prepare to go into your first PIF?
Yeah, look, I mean, again, we are very aligned. I think, the challenges that Fiji encounters and the challenges that we have at home and which, we've all got to deal with and face up to as leaders and find pathways to take it forward, very similar thematics. We had good conversations around education, healthcare. We had equally a lot of conversation around the economy and the law and order issues as well. And, again, they're the same thematics that we have at home. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think, that's why we do feel we've got a good partner here. And I think they feel the same way about us. Cool. Okay, guys.
We've got to go.